Ladies and gentlemen of Knucklehead Nation, welcome to another episode of the Fighters Rep podcast. And today, my special guest, David Rivera, on the road, on the way to practice, I believe it is. David, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Mr. George?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. You are styling and profiling with those glasses, bro.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
David, I wanted to do this with you. I put out an Instagram live. I think it was yesterday or day before, and you commented you'd be interested. I was telling all the fighters they need to market themselves. People want to get to know you guys. It can't just be that you guys get in the ring and fight. People want to be emotionally invested in your careers. You know what I mean? And you put your hand up. You
Yes,
put your
sir.
hand up right away, and I said, man, it'd be great to do something with David because dude, you've been around since the very beginning of Fighters Rep. Am I right?
Yes, sir. I fought Albert Tadeo.
And you know what's crazy is he's going to be fighting on this upcoming Fighters Rep card along with you.
I saw that. I was like, yo, that's really good. Good for him.
What's that?
I said, good for him. I know. I saw that.
Yeah. So, you were at the first Fighters Rep ever back when we did our first ever event. It was at the end of 2017. And when we started, we were doing MMA fights. And, you kind of just kept coming back. You've been a part or almost a part of of every single Fighters Rep card. You've had quite a journey, right? But before we get into that, David, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're from San Bernardino. I know you're a tough kid. I know you can fight. I know you're talented. What got you into fighting? What made you want to do this? What does your family think about this? Tell me about yourself.
Honestly, my family didn't really have too much to say about it. They're just super supportive. Whatever I wanted to do. I was going to school to be a detective. So, my major was criminal justice. And I had like one semester left, and I was like, you know what? Nah, it's not for me. I'm gonna focus on fighting. Focus 100% on fighting,
Yeah.
and this is what I'm doing.
And why? I mean, what was it that got you interested in fighting? And by the way, I have met your dad, and you say supportive. You are not lying. That guy is an OG to the maximum meaning of the
100%.
of the phrase. You know what I mean? But what kind of made you want to fight? Of all the things you could do in life.
I think martial arts is just super fucking dope. To be honest, I like the fact that you can control others and just be in control of yourself. And I grew up watching like, Power Rangers and stuff like that, so I thought it was always cool. So that's kind of it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, born and raised in San Bernardino, California. Am I right?
Yes, sir. And you know what?
I'm
Kind of growing up in San Bernardino, you kind of have to know how to protect yourself.
I figured, I was gonna kind of ask you about that. Did that have an influence on you fighting or wanting to be a fighter?
Big time, big time.
Okay, okay. Can you still hear me? I think you chopped up real quick. Okay, cool,
Yes,
cool,
sir.
cool. So you said it had an influence on your career as a fighter. I mean, did you get into a lot of fights growing up? Have you used what you've learned? Have you been forced to kind of use what you've learned in any of these situations that have maybe arisen in San Bernardino?
All right. So to be honest, growing up, not really, not too much. I grew up kind of blessed. I grew up with a bunch of people, a bunch of kids my age. So any quote unquote fighting that we would do, it would be amongst each other. And yeah, we just fuck around and beat each other up all the time.
Right, right,
Yeah, and then
right.
outside of that, me being an adult, yeah, I've definitely used my experience a lot. Um, Defusing fights, getting out of terrible situations that I have no business being in. Yeah, stuff like that.
Very cool, man. Very cool. And David, your first fight, I mean, was it with us or had you done some smokers before then? Or
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
how did
Nope.
that go about?
First fight was with you. No
Very
smokers,
cool.
no
No,
nothing.
Okay, okay, okay. And I remember that fight vividly. I mean, Albert Tadeo, which is crazy because here we are almost 5 years later, right? Albert Tadeo rushed you in that fight. You took him down, and I think was it an armbar or a triangle, something like that?
Both. It was a triangle, but I armbarred him while inside the triangle.
Very cool, very cool. And now here we are, almost 5 years later. You are still fighting with us. Now we're doing kickboxing. You know, you appear to enjoy the kickboxing rule set as much as you do the MMA rule set at the very least. And he's on the card as well. You know, I thought that was pretty coincidental. What I wanted to ask you was, you know, we were doing MMA fights for the first 2 years of our existence, essentially. And then, you know, we started doing kickboxing for about a year. Then COVID hit. We couldn't do shows for about a year and a half. So, I mean, we haven't really been in business that long when you consider COVID kind of killing a year and a half of our business. But, you know, you did start out with MMA. And, you know, I feel like I'm the only one that you fight for, really. I mean, you've
To
had an
be honest,
opportunity.
like it's crazy. So I have tried to fight for other people. Same thing, man. Fights always get pulled.
Yeah.
It's either someone pulls out or no. It's always someone pulls out. It's
You know,
fun.
it's incredible
So much fun.
because even with us, you know, guys have either missed weight against you or they've pulled out at the last second. We had one guy show up to weigh in and not show up to the fight to fight you, which I thought was just absolutely ridiculous.
Can't
Um,
make this up.
yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. I haven't had anybody with the kind of up and down, turbulent, you know, will my opponent show up? Will he not show up? Kind of situation like you do. You know, I think partially, I want to say partially it's because maybe you intimidate the guys. Maybe they get there and they're just scared of the moment. I mean, what do you think it is that's made like so many people pull out against you and so many issues come up?
Honestly, I think it's a combination of everything that you said. Um, for quite a while, that's the reason I don't post so much on social media.
Yeah.
Apparently, everyone's already scared, or you know what? No, they're scared. And yeah, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to give them more information. Boom. We actually had a plan, not a plan, but it was a little idea. We're like, yo, we should post a video of me getting knocked out or something, just so they get more balls, you know? Like, all
Yeah.
right, look,
Yeah.
he's beatable.
It's crazy. It really is crazy. I mean, I will say you have been the person with the most issues, and I can't blame you for it, really. I mean, I have to blame the other side because, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's not your fault. So, you know, it's really been an adventure to get you matched. But listen, all your fights have been with me, right? So I'm kind of proud at that at the same time, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've had, I think, what is it, 4 MMA fights?
Yeah, so even the ones that aren't with Fighters Rep, you had some type of deal with them.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So 4 MMA fights, which, you know, I was involved with all of them, whether they were with Fighters Rep or with an organization that I was helping out. And then all your striking bouts, I mean, you've had 2 striking bouts. They've also been with us. And
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. You know, I think it's great. You know, I love I love being able to kind of build guys and you know, take them through their career. And you've seen how it is at Fighters Rep, right? I mean, I'm not putting you in there with bums. I'm putting you in there with real fighters, and the
Yeah.
best man wins. The best man wins at Fighters Rep, kind of deal, right? Tell me how you feel about that.
I like it. I really like the way you set up shows. I like the way you deal with people outside of the ring too. Yeah, I like it a lot.
What do you
That's
mean
why I
by
keep coming
that?
back.
What do you mean by
Uh,
that?
the talks we have and the talks you
Yeah,
have with
yeah.
other people, you know, you're super blunt and yeah,
I
I like
appreciate
it.
that, David. You know, one thing I'm gonna bring it up in this conversation now is an issue that me and you have. But before I do that, hey, we got to keep it real. But before I do that, guys, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Join the channel. Get your tickets to Fighters Rep 15. It's going to be an absolutely epic night. David Rivera is going to be on the card. If you haven't seen him, this kid is ridiculously talented. You know, one of the most talented kids, I think, in the striking scene, period. Get your tickets to watch him. If you can't make it to California, which I think it's a BS excuse, David, we've got the hotel rooms at the Commerce Casino available, and people can fly out and watch you from anywhere. But if you can't make it, you can also join the channel in the link below as well, or our YouTube channel for just $9.99 a month and watch the fights live. That's the only way to watch them live. Now, David, what I wanted to talk to you about, right, was, you know, I have had the pleasure of, you know, being a part of your career. I mean, like we just mentioned, you know, every fight you've had has, you know, I've been involved, whether it's through FightersRep, which the majority have been, or through an organization that I work with. What drives me crazy about you, right, and this is relevant to what's going on right now in California, is I know you don't want to fight with headgear. I know you don't like headgear. I know you don't like shin guards, you know, but you know, I've always pushed you to take the fight regardless, because I just want you to get experience. But, you know, at the end of the day, I got to respect what the fighter wants. That being said, you know, the state of California seems to be leaning towards, at least this is what they're talking about, they want to put headgear on all the amateurs, which I think is a horrific idea, a horrible move. You're a prime example of somebody that does not want to fight with headgear. Most fighters don't. What are your thoughts? I mean, I know you hate headgear. Tell me what you think about headgear. I need to know what's going on with the headgear situation.
Honestly, all it does is get in the way. The only reason you would have to wear headgear is for cuts. And yo, if we're wearing shin guards and headgear, like, what's the point of that? We're not throwing elbows.
Right.
It's kickboxing, you know?
Right.
And
right.
yeah, it's just a bigger target, to be honest. It's more head trauma. There's no point of it.
Right. No, I agree 100%. And actually, the studies agree with you as well, which is why I'm so taken aback by why California would want to do something like that. But that being said, you know, I have been pushing you for years. David, take the fight. I just want to get you the experience, you know, because I think experience is super important. I know sparring is a very big deal, but, you know, I'm saying it out loud and live right here. That's the only reason I'm always yelling at you. Take the damn fight. Forget the headgear. Just fight. Who cares? Because I think experience is very important.
That's the thing, George. If I'm going to take a fight with head, I don't know. It makes no sense. I'm down for shins. If you have to do shins, I'll do shins. Just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I'll get better experience sparring the people that I already spar if I'm going to go in and fight with headgear. You know?
I understand. My counter to that, and not just for you, you know, for all the fighters that are hesitant once they, because, you know, what happens is after 3 fights, whether you have MMA fights or kickboxing or whatever, going into your 4th fight in California, you have the option to take off the headgear and the shin guards. And once guys get to that level, they don't want to go back, right? They don't want to go back. But, you know, my argument is, you know, let's say you get to 3 fights and the next fight is without headgear. Now you have 4 fights. You know, if I can't get guys the experience necessary to get them a title shot, for instance, that's where it starts to hurt. You know, I also think,
That makes sense.
you know, I also think there's nothing like in-ring experience. You know, we've seen guys like, you know, Lomachenko, Rigondeaux, these guys. I mean, they wore headgear when they had to fight. So my mentality is I just want you guys to get the best experience, to be the best you can be. But, you know, I understand. I got to respect it. Either way. That being said, David, you are fighting on September 3rd without headgear, without shin guards, against a very tough kid coming out of Dynamics MMA. You know, for those people out there who haven't seen you fight, David, what can they expect?
Calculated chaos, to be honest. All I do is fight with pure fucking technique, and every single shot I throw has power.
You sure do. Now, David, you won your first fight with us by knockout. You're coming off a very tough decision against a guy in Joshua Caldwell where you lost. Who, you know, I'll be honest. I'm impressed by Joshua Caldwell very much, but I'm also impressed by you. I felt like maybe Joshua, and this is not taking credit away from Joshua, but I felt like you were the smaller guy for sure.
Oh,
You were
100%.
you were fighting
I'm
at
not a welterweight, you know.
yeah,
I'm not
you're not a
a 100.
170
Yeah,
pounder.
yeah,
Yeah. But you are taking this fight at 170. What's
yeah.
kind of the goal weight for you? I mean, where do you want to get to?
Eventually, I'll fight at 155. What? I mean, you already know the problems I have with getting fights at 170. There's
Yeah.
no point of me cutting weight all the way down to 155 and having the same problem. You know,
Yeah.
it's not worth it. It's not,
Yeah.
yeah, putting all that damage to my body.
I understand. I understand. So
You
is it
know,
a bit of a difficult cut to get down 155 pounds?
not super difficult, but I don't want to put my body through all that damage. You know,
Right,
um,
right.
yeah,
Well, I
no
think
reason.
as the promotion continues to solidify, we'll see less guys drop out of fights. At least that's my hope. That as our, that as our quality and reputation increases, people will take it more seriously and they won't drop out of fights. You know what I mean?
You know what's kind of funny? I kind of called that homeboy was going to get injured too. Um, I forgot his name already. The dude I was scheduled with at first.
Oh,
Zoller.
that's right.
Zoller.
That's
That's
right.
his name.
That's right.
Zoller.
Yeah, yeah. I will say though, I
Uh,
will say Zoller's a warrior, man. I think Zoller would show up, but Zoller, it looks like he really, I mean, he sent me he's one of the few people, right, who've been injured. Cause you know me, I'm gonna say, okay, well, what's the injury? Because I want to know if I want to work with
yeah,
this person in the future or not.
yeah.
I want to know if
Mhm.
they're serious or not. If you stubbed your pinky toe, I mean, get the hell out of here. But he actually like sent me like X-rays and shit. I was like, okay, whoa, you know what I mean? Like, I appreciate that. You know what I mean?
All right.
And luckily, I mean, you had a different obligation, so we had to cancel the fight anyway. And then he got hurt, but then you were able to
Mhm.
come back because I guess your fight got canceled, and the opponent that I had replaced you with is accepted the fight with you now. So it's been a bit of musical chairs even for this fight.
Mhm.
It's always musical chairs with you, David. It's always
Uh,
musical chairs, brother.
it's all right. It's gonna be the same thing though. Knock homeboy out, and I got some fun stuff planned after I win.
So, David, another thing I wanted to ask you, which I'm very interested in as well, of course, as somebody who's been a part of your career from the beginning and that wants to continue to be a part of your career, is the trajectory, right, of David Rivera. I mean, you started out MMA, you've been fighting with us kickboxing, but I don't know what trajectory you want to go to. And I don't mind, obviously. I always want to be a part of your career, but
Mhm.
at the end of the day, the fighter has to do what's in his best interest. Do you see yourself going into MMA, uh, Muay Thai, kickboxing? Because you can kind of do it all.
All right, so I am an MMA fighter. That's what I do all the time. I train MMA. I do MMA sparring all the time. I wrestle. I do jujitsu, um, stand up, of course. But as of late, all I've had luck with is kickboxing. So kind of fell in love with kickboxing for a bit, you know? So I'm always down to fight. I have all types of fights: kickboxing, Muay Thai, MMA. I don't care. I'm down.
Yeah, yeah. And what I got to say about you, David, is you are definitely one of the more courageous guys that I deal with. Like you really are down to fight anybody, and I
Sure.
and yeah, and I love that about it. I love that about you. I love working with you because of that. That's the only reason I haven't, just said to hell with this guy. He never wants to listen to me, because
Uh,
you have so much heart. You're willing to fight anyone. Where does that mentality come from? That I don't care. Last minute, I'll fight this guy. I'll turn pro if I have to and fight that guy. Where does that come from?
to be honest, probably just growing up in San Bernardino, man. Growing up in San Bernardino, it's pretty tough. And, if you don't say fuck it, you get your shit beat up.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like your
And I am
dad, I feel
and
like,
I am a Mexican, We all got that that Chicano warrior spirit, you know what I'm saying?
For sure, for sure. Shout out to the Mexicans, man. We've got,
Yes,
listen,
sir.
we've got, David, I want, the reason I love doing this with you guys, right? This kind of interviews and sending out
Mhm.
cameras and stuff. I've seen the success of guys like Ryan Garcia, right? Young
Mhm.
Mexican American. He can't even speak Spanish as far as I know. And
Crazy, right?
yeah, yeah, and I look at guys like I mean, you know, you I'm a married man, you know what I'm talking about, but such a good-looking young man, you could get a freaking suave sponsorship, a shampoo sponsorship with that hair you've got. We've got Jason Granado in the chat. Shout out to Jason Granado,
Yes,
another,
sir. Shout out Gator.
another extremely good-looking, marketable young man. The difference between you guys and a kid like a Ryan Garcia, is just it's just like this. At some point, people are going to start looking at you guys. They're going to start looking at kickboxing the way they look at boxing. They're going to see that in this sport, at the very least, the best are fighting the best. You guys are going in there with live dogs, whereas a lot of these boxers are kind of just being manufactured and fighting nobody. And that's, that kind of ties into what you said about the Mexican warrior spirit. They really support their fighters. They are known for being great fighters, and you do have that upbringing. You got your father. I've met your father. He's, I mean, he's super entertaining. Talk to me a little bit about the Mexican American heritage or the Mexican heritage. How has that impacted your life in the fight game, growing up, everything else?
In the fight game, honestly, I get so much support from people I don't even know. They're just like, yo, like, we like this guy. He's Mexican. Then I actually speak to them like, oh, he actually speaks Spanish. Like, he really understands. I don't know. It's super, super awesome. Man, I love being Mexican American.
I love it. I love it. And you should be proud of yourself. And I love having all these, incredible fighters from all these different ethnicities. You guys can catch Fighters Rep 15 on September 3rd. Get your tickets at FightersRep.com. David, you're on your way to Classic Fight Team. That's where I guess
So
you're training. I mean, are you training mostly there? Is it half there, half at XFit? Kind of tell me about your training camp, where you're
that's
training.
kind of it right there. So XFit will forever be my home gym. Like 2 years ago, my Muay Thai coach retired, so he's not teaching anymore. So I had to go find a new striking coach, and that's where I found Tyler Wambos. So for like the last 2 years, I've been going to Classic Fight Team.
Doesn't get too much better than Tyler Wobbles and Classic Fight Team, does it?
You know what I'm saying?
For sure, for sure. Great camp, another fantastic camp that we have the pleasure of working with. And, I know TJ Dillashaw's training
Yes,
out
sir.
there. I seen Cully training out there. I see Tyler Smith, who's fought for us on a couple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
Ed Hyman, who got that amazing knee knockout at Fighters Rep 14. So, you're definitely surrounded by some good company. Anything you want to say, David? Listen, I appreciate your time very much, man. Anything you want to say to people following you, people supporting you, potential sponsors, anything else?
To be honest, go hit that link in my bio. Go buy tickets to Fighters Rep 15. Go put David Rivera for who you came to see. And yeah, that's it, man. Big shout out to one of my sponsors, Ross Vecchi from Farmers Insurance. Supports me so much. Love that guy. And Stephanie Escobar from Lash Zoltry. Yeah, big
Amazing,
shout out.
amazing. And if anybody wants to sponsor not only the show, but wants to sponsor David Rivera, give this young, extremely talented fighter. And you can see his highlights all over our channel. He's an amazing fighter. If you want to sponsor him, reach out to me. I can facilitate that. Or just reach out to him directly on Instagram at I Guess David is his handle. But if you need
So
help finding him, I'm here.
there you go.
Well, David, hey, thank you so much for your time, man. It's a pleasure doing this with you. I'm gonna let you go and get to training. I know you're in the middle of
100%.
training camp. We're like
I'm right here
25
in the
days
middle of the
out,
freeway
right?
still.
Well, you're on the way there though, right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're only like 24, 25 days away, so I know you're deep in camp now, so I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I appreciate your time, David. Thank you so
Thank you,
much,
Jordan. I
brother.
appreciate you. Yes,
All
sir.
right, man. Take care.